Can you see my screen? I'm at the calendar screen on Inform right now.
Yes.
Okay. Well, this morning's session, I just kind of wanted to get back to basics. I wanted to start over with a real quick kind of foundational hit on, can we get logged in? Do we know where to get into sales order entry? Can we find customers, products, save an order, and confirm an order? And I want to do that with open tickets and payment tender tickets. I want to just cut away anything more advanced than that. I want to make sure we can get that so we can make sure that people can get in and do practicing and get in that in the days ahead leading up to the ramp up to go live. So that's the focus of today. Stuff like auto quotes, anything of that will be next week's session. Something like that. We can drill into that a little bit more advanced. So with sales order entry, everybody can log in, and if you can't, let me know. Make sure we get that set. But everybody should have a user set up. We've got. You need to be able to get in, get access to it, to Inform from your local station. If that's not happening, make sure to let me know, and I'll make sure hardware can get connected and get that set up with you guys. Once you're in, everybody's landing page is going to be the calendar, but it's their own personalized calendar. So we're looking at that. But from this standpoint, we've got sales order entries right here. You also can get to it from sales, order, and sales order. All right, so that's where we're going to be creating sales orders, creating quotes, all that kind of good stuff. So now, if we have just your typical walk-in customer that comes in, you can just jump right down here and put in some products. Now, if you know the product number, of course, you can type it in right here. I don't know all your product numbers, so I'm just going to put in a search term. I'm just going to look for a cup. And we'll find one down here, and I'm going to select it from the list. All right, so now a couple things to look at. Product, quantity, price. We also have status of the customer. This is defaulting in customer 1980, which is your walk-in customer. That was designated, in discussions a while back, but that's kind of your default customer. You don't have to put in a customer if it's just your coming off the street, grab a product, invoice the customer. One thing to notice is that it says point of sale. This is going to want you to tender. It's going to require you to tender a payment before you finalize this ticket. All right, so now we can add in products. If you have access, change the price if you need to. But this is it. You can add additional products. I believe you guys have scan guns. You need to make sure that those are able to scan and pop right in here. If not, I'm going to get hardware to work on it. But somebody needs to test that and get that going. But right from here, you should be able to scan the item, the UPC, the product, whatever you have on the label. And as long as we can recognize that, you can get that. Part of this testing, it's really important that, you can find the products the way you're used to, and as the search engine is doing that. Now, a reminder, it's going to search on your product number, which is your record ID here, part of your description. Description 2, product line, any keywords that are out there too. So, 45 100R would bring up this item. If this probably looks like UPC or something like that, if you were to enter that or scan that, sequence of digits, it would bring up this product. So you can go through and build it and create orders that way too. All right, so now you step through this. If you have any info, customer PO, but this is optional. Required will have a little red dot by the field. So if there's not something there, it's going to come back. When you go to save it, it's going to stop and say, you need to put in this field or you need to fill this. If we get to the final, if we're going to save, it's going to say payments required because it's a point of sale. So if this is a case where the customer, and also something to mention, when you get to this screen, tax is going to be calculated. You got to make sure that this is applying the right percentage. The best idea on some of these is to take an existing order and key that in a couple of those a day as we test through. So pull that up, product, put it in, the pricing, tax, those kind of things. Now, if pricing's changed recently, and we haven't refreshed the data for at least probably a month. So if something's changed in that, know that could be where part of it is coming from as well. Or tax load, if those rates have changed. When we refresh it for the go live, those will be updated with the current stuff. So anyway, back to this walk-in customer, point of sale, we're going to collect payment. Right now we can type in, if they pay us, this is $295.63, let's say they pay us $300 cash. We've got this, we record how did they pay it. Is it cash, check, credit card? Now when you have the swipers, you'll be able to do that, but if you were to credit, you'd select this button and then you'd swipe the card. Right here, we're just going to collect and record it as cash. So now in this case, we brought in $4.37 more than what the total ticket was. I'm just going to record that as change. Save the ticket. All right, so now we can print out a register receipt if we wanted to. That posted it, that's it. So that's, getting in a pretty simple, straightforward ticket, recording payment, entering payment, and going through with that. So now let's just do another sales order. This time let's search for a customer. We've got Sonic, right? Now, make sure you can find the customers, make sure that their information looks right. But you can type in, similar to the product search, but you can search on the customer number. So if you knew 5915 was Sonic, you can type that in, hit tab. You can type in Sonic and it brings up anything that's got Sonic in the name, the city, state. If you're familiar with those old customer numbers, SONIO2, you can pull that in directly too. So there's a lot of options for getting the customer pulled up. So let's just pull that one up. Now, we can look for products again, and this one, couple notes, this is a different status. And what this one is, it's going to allow you to post it to accounts receivable. It's not going to require you to collect payment, to tender a payment, cash, check, credit card. So this is going to bring this in. It's going to allow you to create the order without that. I can type in cup, so I'm going to search for that a lot today. This is your results. You've got your cart. If you want to say, well, yeah, they're grabbing one of these and one of these, you can put your quantity in there, but probably not going to be built so much that way. Find the product, put it in, adjust the quantity if there's two of them. Do that, hit tab, go to the next line. Now remember, there's a lot of right-click options. If we need that, we can right-click. We can recalculate prices, we can adjust, we can do create products, those kind of things. You can also click on the actual line itself and right-click. There's a few other options. You can put on comments. Something like this would be an external note. We would print on the sales order, print on the documents, print on that as you go through. Right click. Internal comments. This is stuff that only you would see. This would not be printed on any of the documents. But they stay with the product. The external will print on the documents. The customer will see those. The internal, they won't unless they're looking at the screen. Product by product, and again, scan the item, hit it, scan the next item, hit it, or enter. You can also copy and paste in from a text document. If you got a spreadsheet, you got all that kind of stuff. And of course, there's options for import, and there's options for, like we said, auto quotes, but we'll get to that, on the next section. So creating this ticket for the active bid open account customers. And I mean, that's also something to look at to make sure that, these customers are coming in with the right status. Are they still, should they be active, or should they be point of sale where it's going to require a payment? So, all right. So once this is in, hit save. All right. So now we've saved the order. The order has been created. So now, we want somebody to, if you have a printed document to look at, you want to hit sales order so you can print this out. And somebody can go pick and pull that through the warehouse, through the showroom, collect the items. So you've got a document like this, sales order. Carry your products, and you have the quantities, so you can connect that. All right, so then once this is ready, if the customer is ready, you're ready to ship that out. Or if, all this stuff is with you right there and then, you just go right from saving the sales order to confirming. And then all the confirmation is saying, all right, well, I'm confirming. We've got these products. We've picked them. The customer's taking these with them, or we're shipping them out, or we're delivering, whatever. But we're confirming these to the customer, confirming that, they're taking them with them. If the count's wrong, you can update that. But if not, just hit save to confirm those. This is the document that would be going with the customer at that point, their confirmation. Now, when the billing gets run, they're going to get a document printed out or emailed to their, or faxed to their accountant. And that'll say invoice in the upper right. So that's a point of sale. That's a sales order. That's for an open account. So now, another scenario, you've got an open account, but maybe the person that's coming in is going to provide you a payment this time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do it real quick so I don't have to recreate everything on the order. I'm just going to hit copy order. So we've got this. I'm going to bring this in. All right, I've got a new sales order, another one for this customer. Same product. This time, though, it's only going to be one of these, right? So we've got this. But this time, they're going to pay me. They're going to do that. So one little subtlety right here is the point of sale. You say, all right, they're going to give me a payment for this. Now you can record $9. You can record $8.55. You can hit this little scale right here. And what it's going to do is going to fill in the amount then for you. So then it's a matter of recording, what type of payment are they providing. So this time it'll be a check. Let's put in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's our check number right there. Now we can save it. Here's a copy of their inputs. Shows the products, quantities, the price, the payment, the tax, all the info. You can also always hit that to go to register tape or receipt form. So, to recap, we talked about the point of sale order, specifics going to require payments. We talked about the open account type of order. And we also talked about the open account where they, in this ticket, they paid. Let's look at another order. Let's just say, click sales order. Now again, you don't have to put in the customer. You can start this, and and maybe actually dealing with another one of these Sonic customers. We can bring this in. You can start the order this way. Got one of these, you know what, and you realize, well, this is actually for a Sonic customer, so you can back that out. You know, they just give you a list of products, you need to start creating that order. Get that, start filling it in, price it based on their pricing. If you have info to put into it, it's good. Now we hit save. All right, now the order's in the system, and you've got a sales order. Customer doesn't have possession of it, it's not on their AR, none of that yet. You know, this is to get the order in the system and start it out. Whether you print the sales order, that's kind of is going to be dictated by the timing of, you know, if the customer's calling ahead, I want to get this in the system. You know, do you print it out right then and there, or do you print it out when the customer arrives, then you pick it? So, you know, you've got your document to work with from there. So then when they do come to pick up this item, so let's talk about that part of it. So now this is we put the order in the system, and the customer's going to come pick it up later. And so, you know, you've got it out there. Now you got your will call shelf, but you know, up at the counter, you look at this. There's two options for looking for. Well, there's at least two options for looking for orders. So now in the sales order, up here in the order number, you can type in your order number. So, you know, if you give the customer order number, they show up and they say, my order number 100770 is here. And you can type that in with tab and pull up the order. You can hit search right here. You can search for all open orders. You can search for based on the customer. You can search based on a product. You can search, you know, based on order number, PO number, customer PO number that's on there. You can do that. There's also a button that looks just like that. Is right here. Is your sales order inquiry. It does the same thing. So my suggestion is, you know, when you're creating orders, you're probably living in this screen a lot, almost all the time, every day. Look through your order from here. But preference is preference, and you can also look at it from here. But if you notice, those are the same fields. All right, so now let's just look at, we know this is the customer, the, you know, 1286 Landers, we've got that. Let's search for the open orders. All right, so now we've got a list of what's open out there, what we've looked at. If you hover over it, it'll give you a recap. You don't have to click into it to find out what, you know, what the sales order, the information, the product that are on. Oh yeah, it's that. All right, so we can, at this point, you know, you can select it, and you have an option to print it at that point. You can also click, and really you're just drilling into it. So you click into this, you got it. All right, here's the product. Let me go grab that for you. Here it is. All right, you're taking it with you. Let's confirm it. Ship confirm button. Save it. And they're out the door and on their way. So now that recap, that inquiry, you know, it's through here. And you can get to it through the sales order screen or through the sales order inquiry screen. So you've got this, and you know, you're able to find your products. And so now you see how that changed. The status has changed. So now if we look at this, it's an open order, which means it hasn't been run through the billing batch yet, but it's been ship confirmed. See that? This one shows that it's, you know, it's been printed, it's open order, but it's point of sale, collect the payment on. You know, you've got your status. Those are updated within this, so you can find any of that. One thing to remember, I mean, to create, if you want to create, you know, we've talked about sales orders. We can talk about, you know, let's do a credit. So if a customer comes in and they're returning an item, so a lot of, let's just kind of use that one here. So now a reminder, if they're returning an item, you know, you just do a -1. All right, they're bringing that back. checks against history. How we return it to stock, we return it to vendor. This is going to be a discard item. You know, if it's that's going to be at your discretion. So if this is just something that's coming in, okay, it's perfect condition, we'll return it to stock. Do that. All right, so this is going to be the credit amount. This is a point of sale, so it's important to know that at a point of sale, this is going to expect you to, on a point of sale, if you're selling them the item, it's expected you're collecting payment. If you're crediting an item for a point of sale customer, it's expecting that you're going to pay that out. So now we're saying this, we're going to give them $10.70, we're paying cash, save it, there we go. So here's the ticket. You also get the register. All right, so now another scenario. How do we create a quote? So we put in the customer. Let's just go with this one. We can start as a quote. We can start building the sales order and then turn it into a quote before we save it. It's just, however you get going with this. You can always come in and start adding products and then put the customer in later too. So now a couple of options you have up here. Your default, the default is sales order mode. So if you wanted to change this to a quote, we can easily do that right there. A couple of things to note, now it says new price quote. I believe, and actually on the top of this tab, it's going to say new price quote right here too. Let me switch it back to the original sales order, sales. All right. So now you can also, if you remember, if you like to hit it this way, you can come into the header, come over to this quote tab, and check the box. Does the same thing. It's kind of a preference. It's kind of what you're used to, what you like. But you have options for creating the quote or flagging this as a quote. Now, what's nice about this tab is that you can flag it. You can also set a manual expiration date. What are we looking at? That's looking at April 4. Looks like it's about 6 months, right? So if that's too long, we can set a default to be, 3 months, like 90 days or something like that. So it can be set. If you're using some of the quote analysis with that into the pipeline, then you can start putting, what's the probability of closing this quote? When do we think it'll close? Those kind of things, and you can run reports off of that. This flags this as a quote. Now you can put in, I didn't really put the products in here, so let's just do this, for sake of ease. Here's your quote. All right, so here's the items. Save it. At this point, it's not doing any billing information. It's really just a quote. We've got the price quote. At this point, you can view it. And again, let's just kind of review the options you have here. This prints out the document. I'm doing view just so we can all see it on the screen. We'll come back to that. You can hit send. This is where you can email it, as long as the email scenario is configured, which it will be, you can send this to your accounts. If there are email addresses on the customer, you can grab it. You can also type it in right here. So if you want to send it to me, great. If you wanted to copy someone else in, you can type in as many as you want. And as we're just adding those in, you can add, here's the reference to the quote. you can set this, you get this, that's great. You can send that off. Right now, the system's set in sandbox mode, so nothing I send is actually going to go out of the system. But, that's the idea. You can send it. A lot of people, a good amount use an option that's a little bit more manual. What they want to do is they want to, say, view it before I send. I want to see what it looks like. That's great. Then from here, you can file, save it. You save it locally, and then you attach it to an email where you're doing that. That's an option as well. Some people utilize that. So there's a good option. That, but price quote document, sure. Okay, so that's fine. Let's see, a couple other options that are in there. Printing, of course, prints it, view it, you see it on the screen, and then you can still print it from there, or you can save it. It sends me an email. Save, what this does is it will just save you a copy directly. So then you dump it right in there and you've got it. All right, so now once the quote's in the system, you notice, number one, it says, hey, this is a quote. The status, it's printed, it's quote. The numbering is a little different. Starts with a Q. These are quotes. So now how do you find a quote? Same way, really. You've got this option. You've got this option. You come in here, find it. All right, so now another layer to look at. You can search it by customer. You can just look for all open quotes. You can do that. You come down here, open completed orders, so we can just look for quotes. So let's hit search. All right, so we've got a couple that are in there. Click the date. Well, here's the one. Now, in any of these grids, I want to just kind of put a reminder in there that these tops these scatters are clickable, so you can sort it. So let's look, we can rearrange it by date, by custom. PO, there's nothing there, but ship to info, it can be value. I know this quote's over, $9,000. Let me find the ones that are up there. Oh, is it this one or is it that one? You can find it. So that's in there. Then again, you hover it, you can see it. Yep, that's the one. It's got these items, this item, so on. So, all right, so now you click into that. So now, what do we do? How do we get that into a sales order? All right, so now we've got our quote. We've got it here. What we want to do is hit create order. So what this is going to do is basically it's going to copy the products from your quote into a sales order. So now one thing to note is like you can copy from a quote to an order. You can copy existing orders to orders. So once it's in the system, hey, it's great. Get those things in the system because you have some flexibility. You can copy it to a different customer if you know that. Oh yeah, it's just like pretty much everything this guy buys. Let's copy that order for it. We want to use that as kind of you're using that as a template. I've seen some customers that set up a handful of generic. Hey, we do these generic orders, and basically for this type of scenario, these are the products that are on there, at least the starting. And then you copy that in, so you're not building everything from scratch. Where that's nice is if you need to add a product or remove a product from the order, you can do that as you copy in the bulk of it. So anyway, it brings in, now with a quote, it's going to default, there's a couple defaults. You can copy in pricing, cost overrides, notes. Now, by default, since it's a quote, it's saying, hey, this quote, this is an agreement, they want to go forward with that quote, it's going to bring in your price. If you wanted it to reprice with current price, you can uncheck that. So then it would look in and like, here's the customer, we're going to bring in their updated price, new price, notes, so on, that kind of stuff. So that brings it in. This checks, I checked a bunch of things that didn't have, any quantity on hand. So that's why they're sitting on backward. But that's okay to do. A couple things to note on that as we get into this. This is requesting a purchase order. So it's going to talk to purchasing. When purchasing reviews it, hey, there's a sales order. We got all these items on it. We need to get these ordered. So that will feed into that as well. But once you copy it in, if you need to update anything, you can. You hit save. All right, at this point, this is in the system. Now, if purchasing comes and looks at it, it's going to see these are on order. It's going to know it's going to need to purchase these items and get those going. All right, so, we kind of hit on the high level on the basic stuff. Is there anyone that cannot get into Inform? Is everybody clear on what their logins are? Can they get in? Are they going to be able to, add some tickets, build some tickets, as soon as possible between now and the next time we meet? So. And are there any quick questions as far as getting started with it?
Anybody have any questions? I have a question, but it's not necessarily pertaining to getting started. It's more of transferring data files when we go from the old system to the new one.
Got it. Okay. Well, let's hold that for just a sec, but let's just make sure that everybody's at a good starting point. And then if truly we don't have any other questions, that's great. So then we'll talk about those kind of data questions. Absolutely.
I have a question.
Okay.
It's regarding the email. Is that going to be set up through you guys, or do we have to get our IT guy involved?
As far as that allows the system to email out, is that what I'm? Okay. Let's just do a real quick check here to see if that's already in the works, because it could be that it's already there. So let's just check that out. All right. So we've got an email here. Let's look at. So that's set up, Office 365. It looks like, when I look at this and look at the settings right now, I would say that when the system is turned on live, you're going to already have the capability of sending stuff out via email, quotes, purchase orders, reports, those kind of things, based on that setting. And of course that's assuming that it works right. I know Mark had tested it, or at least it's on its checklist to test. So that's based on those settings that are already in there, that's a great sign, knowing that that's going to be the case. If for some reason we tried to send it and the email provider blocked or gave an error message, then we need to incorporate IT to get that to work. But the fact that it's in there tells me that that's already on the right track with that. So it looks like you're already there. Users. I don't see any individual web settings, but that's email settings, but that's okay. You'll use the default system setting up until the point where any specific user settings are set. So anyway, you're in a good starting point.
I have a question.
Okay.
When you are creating a sales order and you enter an item number and the item number is not in stock, below it says purchase order requested. Is that going to automatically send that request to Kayla?
Send it to who?
Because it says purchase order requested.
Yep.
Who does that go to, Kayla?
Well, what it feeds into. Oh, naturally, I picked one that's got one in. Okay, so let's see. So there are two ways that really gets communicated. So when that's on our sales order, so if we do this, let's set this to so 0. So then, we've got a purchase order request. So what that means is we can set up a notification, but like by default, it's not set up to send anybody an email. But by the fact that it has this purchase order requested here, what it does is it feeds into a screen the purchase has. That's this one right here, the special purchase requisitions. So any of those that are sitting out there, like that one we just looked at a moment ago, you know, some items are in there. Hey, these are on a customer order. So we can set that to automatically go. And a lot of people think, well, I've got customers that do it both ways. Some, like, yeah, I want to see it every time it comes in. And sometimes it's like, hey, be careful what you ask for, because what you end up doing is you get, depending on how the inventory is, you know, you're going to end up getting a lot of notifications that, hey, you need to order one of these, you need to order one of these, you need to order one of these. And that can be set up to go to a single person, a group of people, all that. But no matter what, whether you get those notifications or not, if you come into this special purchase requisition screen, you're going to see the breakdown and how that's going. So you can say, oh, well, here we go. I need to order these from International Tableware, and they're on, you know, sales order 162, 166. Okay, so I'll get a PO now. I see this, I review this, I hit purchase. I create it just for these. Now, if they're doing a projection, you know, these items are going to be in there along with other items that you need to get for that vendor too. So I hope that clears it up a little bit. But, I mean, you know, kind of the short answer is, if we need to send these notifications to someone, we can absolutely do that through the branch notification. All right, any other questions?
I've got one, but it's mainly about the updating the next day, and that won't impact any of these people. So.
Got it. Sure. Yeah, you know, it's good. I kind of want to compartmentalize it and get this, you know, so we can at least get a good basis for getting in, testing. You know, just all right. So everybody can get logged in. You know, where do we go to create sales orders? Do we know how to start a sales order? All right, well, you get in, start doing products. It'll default in that walk-in customer. You build it, you know, you save it, then you confirm it. You can build it, take payment. If we have some other customer, it's not your default walk-in customer, do we know how to, you know, search for customers? All right, that's good. We know how to search for products, that kind of stuff. Once the orders are in, it's going to be a great idea to go and do your inquiry to search for existing orders. So, you know, that's kind of the points we want to get between now and the next session, which we'll do, you know, next week sometime, and we'll build on that. So, I mean, if that's good, we're good with that session. We've covered the ground we needed to this morning. We can discuss some of these other questions as needed. I guess depending on who needs to be on the call, if you want, Joe.
Ella, did you have something? I do. So when we start transferring information over, it's my understanding that we will have to re-enter any active purchase orders. So is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so what do we do in the scenario that we have a purchase order with a back order? Are we able to enter it and then just, I guess, manually input that there's a back order on that? How does that work?
Yeah, so, you know, you've got, well, let's create a purchase order.
And I've got a question on that too, because we have, you know, currently, Leslie brought up that we probably wanted to get those transferred over what was existing, given the fact that in the GL and on an existing sales order currently, we've got almost $400,000 applied to sales orders and discounts. I mean, in prepaid deposits. That's current as of today. So is there a way we can get what's pulled through? Because that's going to be a lot of going back and trying to match up the GL to all these sales orders and cash receipts and stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So there is a process. The kind of the standard conversion does not include open sales orders or open purchase orders. So it's something that can be done. I know a while back, Mitch had looked at pulling the open sales orders, and it looks like the files are at least accessible. It's something that we got to get. It's going to be an additional charge. So let me have Jennifer at least send you the paperwork for that, so you can look at it. Consider it may be. I mean, if you got that amount, it may be something that needs to happen anyway. So let me make sure that happens, and we'll get that via either today or tomorrow. So I'll for sure, when we're done with this, I'll kick that and that can get to you soon. So we'll approach that.
What about sales orders? Will we have to re-enter
What
those?
about, Michelle? Importing sales orders.
Yeah, you'll have the option and the answer for that with what I have Jennifer, because they're not one. I guess one. There'll be an option for sales order, an option for purchase order. So that you'll have an answer for both of those, or a choice for both of those and stuff. So that'll get communicated.
Okay.
Alrighty. So, all right. So a product here that's on order. I mean, I don't know if I'm grabbing a good vendor, but do this. So this is in. I mean, at this point, it's going to remain open. Now, if it's something where you have an expected date or something like that, we can change the date to it, but it'll stay open and know it's on back order. It is, and as an open PO until you receive that. So I mean, that should allow you to do that on the purchase order side of these. You can even set confirmation. Right now it's defaulted, but let's say that we're expecting this the end of May. Not only is that going to be a part of that, but it's going to show, like, if people are looking at it from an inquiry standpoint, they're going to see this. It's on a purchase order. If we look at purchase orders, you're going to be able to see this. It's going to show, here's our delivery date. It's going to show those kind of things. If we need to push the actual purchase order date out farther, we can certainly do that with, changing the date. But I mean, those will give you should give you the visibility to those and the info that you do have with it.
Anybody else?
Hey, Jill, so what's a good timing for, like, next week's meeting? As I mentioned in the email, I've got some stuff. My schedule's a little tighter next week just based on going to do some training for another customer, but at least half my days are good. So, and meaning half of every day is good in the afternoon. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I do have one quick question. Can you show us how to invoice any of those open sales orders that you have?
Oh, sure. So let's see. Let me just double check what our post settings are set to. I can't type. All right, here we go. All right. So right now we don't have any instant posting going. So that means we're set to review the batches and to post the batches.
Typically, the way we do things, they enter their sales order, and then when it's shipped out or delivered, either the salesperson or our shipping department creates an invoice. and then the next day I update it. So
Yeah.
that's what she's asking me. You know, when we create the sales order and 3 months later the job's being completed, at what point, what is the process for creating that invoice from that sales order?
Yep, got it. So, and that's why I wanted to review that, because I didn't recall that you were an instant post thing. So, whereas some are where as soon as you confirm it, it builds that invoice right then and there. Well, that's not how we're set. So, what we're set is for really like that. So when the product goes to the customer, that's when you confirm it. That's what we walk through. You confirmed it right then and there. So then, at some point later, typically that's something that somebody looks at every day and bills finalizes, for lack of a better term, finalizes that, invoices that. So that's through this menu, sales, invoicing. And this is going to look at any of your on account or accounts receivable type invoices. So that'll be the process for this. So you're going to sales, invoicing, invoice. And you're going to go to the billing tab. And what you do is you bring those invoices into your batch to review. I mean, they're there, but, we'll look at that. All right, let's look at this. So
this is updating all sales orders produced in one day, correct?
This is this is going to update anything that you have that meets the billing batch. So you've got items that are in here that are new to this batch. So there's some that are in here from the 21st that haven't been updated.
Right, but I've got sales orders currently from November of last year that are still not complete. Just because we created doesn't need to go into a batch to be posted to AR immediately, because we have jobs in process.
I understand. I understand.
How does the salesperson release the sales order to create an invoice? So they're two separate things in the way we do it.
So
the person doing AR just supposed to know and go in and update from months of orders. See what I'm saying?
Well, I do, but I mean, when you confirm the order to the customer, they provide that ship confirmation document. The customer takes that. So then I'm operating under the assumption that now that's being confirmed. So now we want to bill the customer at some point. Is that not the case?
I guess it just doesn't make any sense the way you're describing it to me. Does it make sense to you, Laura?
I'm not following it at all.
Yeah. So we create a sales order. We don't confirm it we get the customer okay to order it. And so we enter a sales order, and then it goes to purchasing, and it may be 3 months before that's complete. So at some point, that sales order becomes an active invoice, and then AR approves or updates the invoices in batches. So when you're talking about this confirmation and stuff, that's completely different from how we're doing it, and just trying to understand the process, because that doesn't make sense to us.
Right. So, I mean, right now I'm talking about those invoices that come in. You confirm that the customer takes possession of it. So those are a little bit different than, the scenario where we create a sales order and, time goes by and then you eventually confirm it.
Right. So that's what she's asking about. Because the point of sale ones are going to be the ones that are going every day that are going to be for AR to update. But all these ones that are jobs in progress is what she's asking about.
Okay.
But is not being taken the day that the sales order is created.
Sure. Okay. So, so you're I'm trying to think where the confusion is coming in. So how I can explain it differently. So, what I'm trying to describe is, you put the order in, and at some point you confirm it to the customer. The customer is taking possession of the product. So, if you put the sales order in and then you place a purchase order for it, and it takes days, weeks, months for that to come in. At some point, the customer's taking possession of it, right?
Right.
So at that point is when you can ship confirm, you confirm the order to the customer. At that point, that's when it would be available to go into that billing batch. So these open sales orders wouldn't necessarily be in there. The timing of that would be different outside of the example that we had today where you've got these orders. So now the sales order really wouldn't be in, it was open waiting for the purchase order to come back, wouldn't be in your billing batch until it gets confirmed down the road when the product shows up and it's ready to go to the customer. Job's done. So the billing batch would be a review of those that have been confirmed to the customer. The customer has possession, and the customer needs to get their invoice.
Okay, so is there a way, if I enter in my customer sales number, and it would be able to pull up, and then I could click on the invoicing button that you've gone to, where is it? Is it under sales, the invoicing?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. So can I not put in my customer sales order number in there and then just complete the order that way? I mean, does that make sense? Is it going to pull up the existing sales order? And if my customer has an ice machine that needs to be serialized or something, I can enter in the serial number. And then, just go through the whole sales order and put all the information that I need to put in there to complete that invoice for the customer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you've got this shows you those that have been confirmed. So but when you confirm the order, are you not putting in the the serial number then at that point?
We do, and when we invoice. Whenever the equipment goes out, yes, we do have the serial number, but we don't put the serial number into our system once we invoice.
So when you confirm it, go into the customer. That's not really when you're going to put the serial number in. Okay, so then,
nope.
So at that point, how do you know? How does that get handed off? Okay, so the customer got it, and then now what? So the customer's got the product. We gave the customer the product. We call it whatever we want.
Back to us.
The paperwork goes to you.
Comes back to us from the installers, and then we invoice it. And then that's whenever it asks us to enter any serial numbers if need be, or anything is on back order. So if we sent 10 thermometers and they ordered 12, we could back order the other 2 at that point as well.
So really, it sounds like, as far as matching the paperwork flow on those kind of orders, the ship confirm is going to happen on your side, which is going to trigger all this stuff. It wouldn't be, the installers, they're not doing ship confirmation, or they're not doing any of that. So you would have the sales order, and this is, at some point later, you'd have the sales order, and then, you could do it from, this could be your screen. You could have put in your sales order. If we shipped it, all this would prompt for, if they were serialized, it would prompt the serial number. You save it, that confirms it to the customer at that point. Then it shows up in your, then when you look at your billing badge, it creates the invoice for it. Your ship confirmation, that confirms it. It's been shipped to the customer. It's final. It's finalized, but it is not yet invoiced. I mean, that's a closer match to what at least what I'm hearing in your description of the process. Then you look at it from here and you go, well, this one is completely done. At this point, it's not on their accounts receivable yet. This one's done, completely done. You click, you print it. Here's our invoice. Posted accounts receivable. This is like your sales journal if you want to attach it with that. But it's there. So then if we look at our customer, I think that was the one I had. These are the open invoices. That's the one we just posted and committed. So,
but the salespeople do not post to accounts receivable. Accounts receivable does that. So it looks like you're having that process would be they are doing that, correct?
Well, I'm not trying to say that. I'm not. Am I talking to? Was the person asking the question? Are they sales or are they account? Because I don't.
Yes, sales is not responsible for finalized posting to the AR and all of that. That goes to the AR.
Right. Okay. So then sales would do the ship confirmation, which would be your serial number that we just looked at, so they confirm these items. And then that's when it gets handed over to the invoice. So they've got order, sales order, and they, we installed these. These are the items. We confirmed it. We're done with it. Customer's taking possession of those. When it's confirmed, then it's eligible to get into the billing batch to be reviewed by AR. And then they do anything else, whether they do an adjustment to let's look at this. Let's look at so they've got these in here, and it shows, all the info that's on here. Gross profit, freight, charges. You've got your chance to one final chance to review it before you commit it to your AR. You only post the ones that you check and select. And at that point, when you're done with it, it's been confirmed, and that's how it gets into this area. So then, accounting's reviewing this. They're looking at this. We've got it. The paperwork's right. Updated. Yeah, serial numbers are right. We've got it. Then at this point, you select it, print, and post.
Who does that?
Accounting.
Okay, that's not what I'm asking, though. I think we're having a major disconnect, in what we're asking and what you're explaining. And I don't, the process is not clear, I don't think, on either side, both mine and the accounting and sales, or just the people in sales. I just explain these two types of processes we run. It seems like there's one that you're describing that doesn't fit all of the ways we do things.
Yeah. I'm struggling to connect. I'm struggling to see how these steps aren't matching what I'm hearing, and it's probably, I'm hearing that you create the sales order. At some point, you confirm the sales order to the customer. This is what the customer got. This is what's there. We need to bill for these items. And so I see that as the sales order. Then I see that as the ship confirmation. And then the next part is the customer needs to be billed for that. And that's what I see as this invoice piece. But maybe I'm not, really